Well, good morning, everyone. And once again, welcome to another live this morning, and hope you're having a great, wonderful start to your day. And we sure appreciate you guys coming on, those who can and those who can come on live with us. Let me see who comes up first. Andrea, you're numero uno. Brahim and Mike, the Trinity. And that gets turned around a little bit, eh? Andrea's number one there. Good morning, guys. We appreciate you guys coming on. Nativity right up at the top. And let's see here. Lynn, how are you? And Rosalinda from the Kidneys of Canada. Wendy from Markham. Lise, bonjour. And Marilyn, Kelowna, bright and early. Jeanette from Kapuskasing. Nick from our staff, and Eric, salut. Nicole from Magog, Quebec, bonjour. Diane, LaSalle, Diane, Thunder Bay, Frida, Devlin, and Rita, Wasaga, and Suzanne, Edmonton, good morning. Sandy, Chilliwack, British Columbia. Nancy, Gore's Landing. Karen, good morning. Diane, Jackson Point. Kevin, there you are, my friend from Oshawa. Norma, good morning from Burlington. Marilyn, PEI. And wait a minute, Newfoundland, who is that? I couldn't see it. Janine and Chantal, Ottawa. Marianne, London. And Diane, bonjour. Donna, how are you? Gloria, good morning. Couple of more. Sandy from Fergus Falls, Minnesota. And I can't see. It was from Tennessee. Sandy, Carol, and Sue, how are you? Margie, Kansas. Dave, good morning. Fran, how are you? From Orangeville. Sharon from Kansas. Caroline. Anybody ever call you Sweet Caroline? Lori. Sue, good morning. And Linda from Punta Cana. How are you? Arlene, Marlo, Ottawa. Louise. And Claudette. Bonjour. Johanna. Bon matin de Quebec. Bonjour. And from Oshawa, I missed it. Mary, New Brunswick. And yeah, see, gets up in my, I don't know if I call it the clouds or my books up there. Bonda, Cheryl, and Judy. Elliot Lake, how are you? John, there he is from Elgin, Illinois. And Milika, I didn't mean to miss you, Milika. Wanda, Virginia. Who was that from Tennessee? Was that Doc McEwen? Caroline, Tina, Nova Scotia, and Barbara. Okay, couple of stories I want to talk about. Let me just start with just a new study out on metformin. Okay? Metformin is a medication they give you, even sometimes they give it out as a pre-diabetic, but it really is a diabetic drug, okay? And it's been around for a while. And the thing is that very popular medication, and millions and millions of people take metformin every day. And what I always said, the problem with metformin is that it gets rid of your B12. Like it's a side effect. Is that you're no longer getting B12, or it's very hard on your B12. Well, new study out shows it's also very hard on vitamin D. So what they're showing is that you get deficiencies of B12 and vitamin D. Okay, so metformin, I know a lot of people take it, and okay, but understand the consequences, and that's low B12 and low vitamin D. And therefore, anyone that's on metformin should be taking B12 and vitamin D. Okay, because they're not getting enough of it, they become deficient. New study. I mean, again, for, I don't know, 25 years, I've been preaching at least that if you're taking metformin, you're going to be low in B12. Okay? So it affects the stomach and the absorption of B12 and vitamin D. So I just wanted to bring you up to date on that one. You might know people that are on metformin, and it's good to know. Now, let me read this. This is another study. This is interesting. It comes out of Neurocell Press. Okay, here's a study, and I want to break this down a little bit. Bile acids circulate around the bloodstream. Of course, we knew that. And they act. Okay? They act. Here's the wording they use as endogenous antidepressants. Bile acids act endogenous, okay, antidepressant. I want you to think about this for a minute. This is a bigger story than the sort of the headline makes out. Bile acids actually help in depression. Now, let me ask you a question. How does your body, or when does your body, let's do both. How does your body secrete bile? And when does your body secrete bile? Okay? How and when? So if you want to give me a couple of answers here, it's a little quiz. My audience always the smartest. Okay? So let me ask you, endogenous means, what did I couldn't see that. Okay? Let me just see here. Let me see here. We get a few answers. Brahim, the gallbladder. Yes. Okay. How? Gallbladder. Yeah. When you eat. Liver, and while you're sleeping. Yes, your liver. Because really, bile is made in the liver, goes to the gallbladder. And when you eat, but when you eat what? This is important, guys. You're all getting the right answers. When you eat, your body secretes bile. But what are you eating for the body to secrete bile? Okay? What are you eating? Yes, Doc McEwen. Fat. Steak. Sue. You got it. Fats. Okay, Teresa. Kelly. No, not sugar. Okay? Gary. Protein. Yeah, protein, but more fat. Cheryl, fat. Nelly, fat. Yeah, it's fat, guys. Okay? Animal fat. Doc McEwen, you got it. Okay, this is significant, and I want you to break this down with me. Okay? Think along with me, and then you'll get the answer to why this study is so significant. Okay? Think along with me now. Your liver makes bile. Okay? And your little reservoir of bile is your gallbladder. What have I been saying to you as long as you've known me? Use it or lose it, right? When it comes to the gallbladder, why do so many people lose their gallbladder? Because they don't use it. It's a little reservoir of bile, and if you're not eating animal fat, you're not using your gallbladder. And that bile just sits there, and if it sits there for a long period of time, you're going to form stones. Okay? Now, in women, just a little asterisk here we're putting. Women are a little bit more susceptible because your gallbladder is a smooth muscle, And when you're estrogen dominant, that can affect your gallbladder when you don't have enough progesterone. Progesterone is what makes that smooth muscle in your bladder, in your gallbladder. It helps that smooth muscle. So women, you get a double whammo. You eat salad instead of steak, and you got gallbladder problems. Then you go to your doctor and he says, quit eating so much fat. No, it's the opposite of that. And guys, that's been proven, by the way. Okay? That's been proven. You use your gallbladder or you lose your gallbladder. It's a reservoir. Now back to bile. Okay? Your body, your liver, where does bile produce? So even if you don't have a gallbladder, here's the good news. You can live without a gallbladder. Of course, God gave you one. It's always better to have it. But if you form stones, why do you form stones? Because you don't eat enough animal fat. Eggs, meat, and cheese. Okay? Eggs, meat, and cheese. You don't use it, you lose it. If you're a salad eater, you're a vegetarian, a vegan, you're much more susceptible to gallbladder. But it's going to go deeper than that based on this story. Excuse me. Now, what am I saying? Bile circulating through your blood is an antidepressant. It binds receptors in the brain. And then, okay, according to this study and article, they just postulated this. Okay? It's something they commented on. It's perhaps why the ketogenic diet is so good for depression. Now, I didn't say that, although I have said it. But they're saying it. The Neurocell Press is saying it. There's something about bile, when it goes through your blood, that binds to receptors in the brain that makes you less susceptible to depression. Okay? Now, over the years, I can tell you anecdotally, for me, in my office, and it wasn't always the case, but I saw it a lot. When I saw depression in my office, deficiencies were almost 100% for sure. Deficient in B12, we just talked about it. Deficient in vitamin D, big time. And deficient in eating animal fat. For most of them. They were deficient. They weren't eating enough steak, vitamin S. They weren't eating enough dairy fat in butter, in cheese. They weren't getting enough of that. And bile, you want to use it. You have it in your liver. Your body makes it. Now, it does other things, but its primary function is to emulsify fat. You need bile. Okay? You need bile. And your body doesn't rely on your gallbladder. Your gallbladder is only a reservoir. It doesn't make bile, it stores bile. Isn't that an interesting study, guys? that eating a ketogenic diet, what is keto? Okay. And you know me, I'm not a big guy. I don't like the word per se because people, they can eat low carb and go into ketosis, but that doesn't necessarily make it healthy if they're not eating the right food. Like I know eliminating carbs, but I'm a big guy on lowering carbs, but increasing healthy fat and protein. I'm a nature guy. Think about it. You want to eat animal fats. Animal fats are almost a perfect food. Okay? Because they have all the vitamins, everything you need, the perfect macros, fat and protein. Instead of, in nature, you won't see fat and carbs together. You'll see fat and protein, but you're not going to see fat and carbs like a donut. That's man-made, guys. When you put fat in with a carbohydrate, like meat is fat and protein. And the fattier the meat, the better it is. That's why fatty fish is so good for you. That's why eggs are so good for you. You know, you look at an egg, you go, oh, unfortunately, because of the stupidity of people, medicine, dietitians, stupidity, they look at an egg and they see cholesterol. I look at an egg and I see a perfect food. It's got very high fat and very high protein. Perfection, fat and protein. Your two macros that you really need. And it's got no carbs. Eggs don't have carbs. Right? Like steak. Is there anything better? Why? Protein, fat. It's ketogenic. Okay? It's ketogenic. That's what I want you to eat, keto. I don't want you to eat keto foods. I don't like man-made low carb foods. I don't. I'm not big on that. There's snacks and everything else. People, I know there's a whole industry out there today. I don't like that stuff, guys. That's all processed and it's man-made and I don't like it. I would rather you eat from nature. Eat what God has given us on this planet. Animal fat. Animal protein. And then you're using bile, you see? And bile helps you to pick up those fat-soluble vitamins, like vitamin A. You know what I don't do? I don't talk enough about vitamin A. I really don't. I should talk about it more. But I don't want you to take vitamin A necessarily as a supplement. I just want you to eat your vitamin A. It's a fat-soluble vitamin, and you need bile. And vitamin A is not only for your immune system. Vitamin A is a tremendous, tremendous vitamin. Okay? And proretinol A. It's a fat-soluble vitamin needing bile. And you know how they always tell you to eat your carrots? That's beta-carotene, but that's only a precursor to vitamin A. Vitamin A is found in the animal kingdom, guys. And it's surrounded by fat. And when you surround food with fat, in nature, what happens? You secrete a lot of bile. And what they're showing is that bile, when it gets around in your bloodstream and it gets up into your brain, it does great things for depression. It does a lot more than that, though. You see, guys, the more they study, the more they have a look at these fat-soluble vitamins, the more they look at bile. Why do we need bile? If you're a vegetarian, you don't need bile. You hardly need it. You don't use it, you're making a big mistake. Those fat-soluble vitamins, they're found in the animal kingdom. Even vitamin D, that's why, okay? Let's go back to the days of the Eskimos. We call them the Inuit now. Go back to those days. I mean, do you think they saw the sun? Not much. Do you think they were sunbathing? Not much. But every day they would eat blubber. Every day they would eat those organ meats. And they used a lot of bile to break that food down. And they were bringing up their vitamin D levels. They weren't short on vitamin D. They ate it every day. Now, the best way to get vitamin D is in the sun. Yes. But what did the Inuit do? They ate it every day in fat soluble. They were eating blubber like it was coming out their ears. And the whale and the cod liver and all that oil and fatty fish, and they were eating all of that, and they were healthy people. Do you know when the Inuit get sick is when they eat our food? Okay? It's when they eat our diet, not when they eat their diet. Is it Stephenson, or I wrote a book about it, that he lived up in the Arctic for a year and he'd never been healthier. He couldn't get over it. He wrote a book about it, and then he came back and they put him in a hospital for a year because they wanted to test him, and all they fed him was blubber. And what he ate when he was up in the Arctic, and they couldn't get over it. Like how healthy he was, his blood pressure, and whatever they measured back in the day. I'll tell you something, folks. Okay, let's go back to yesterday in heart disease. Let's go back there just for a minute. And I talked to you about if you are insulin resistant, you're 6 times. Okay? What was the statistic? Let me read it to you again. I have it right here. 6 times increase in heart disease, 73%. If you just have one issue of metabolic syndrome, one of these signs, high blood pressure, high triglycerides, low HDL, elevated blood glucose, increased waist circumference, 35 inches for women, 40 inches for men, add uric acid and add vitamin D, as far as I'm concerned, to metabolic syndrome. Okay? If you eat a diet where you need bile, fat, and protein, even just fat, but fat and protein, every marker of metabolic syndrome is going to get better, every one of them. So, and that is, we know, hugely linked to heart disease. So when the Inuit were chasing a seal for food, they weren't dropping dead of heart disease. Even Stephenson said it when he lived with them. They don't know what that is. And today, It's the biggest killer in our society as far as chronic disease is heart disease. If we would get back to eating animal fat and protein, eggs and meat and cheese, I'm telling you, the studies are showing it. They're confirming it. That bile, when you use it, even bile, those bile acids. Isn't that wonderful? What do bile acids do, by the way? I mean, one of the things they do, they emulsify fat and they alkalize. Okay, they alkalize food in the small intestine because it comes out of the stomach. It's so acidic because your stomach needs to be highly acidic. But the micro-sized food that's now in your small intestine, your gallbladder pours bile there to alkalize that food. Isn't that something? And part of that is sodium bicarbonate. Isn't that something? Isn't your body smart? Okay? I read you this study again. From the Neurocell Press, bile acids decrease the risk of antidepressants, decrease the risk of depression, act as an antidepressant. Food, act as an when you're anxious, okay, and I was explaining this to someone the other day, when you're anxious, and then anxiety over a period of time, cortisol will do this to you, can lead to you getting really down. You're drained. You're exhausted. You have no energy. And you're getting depressed. What foods do you reach for? Junk. Junk. You're not reaching for a boiled egg when you're depressed. You're looking for a quick fix and you're reaching for something quick like sugar to give you a little bit of a high. Of course, what goes up in blood sugar must come down. And it's really a vicious circle. But you see, guys, if you eat the right foods and you're getting the right vitamins, you're getting your B12 from your red meat, you're getting your fat-soluble vitamins, vitamin K2, so important for the brain, vitamin D, yeah, vitamin A, yes, zinc, a mineral you need. It's found in the animal kingdom, not in the plant kingdom. So when you're eating and you're secreting bile, your liver's making more bile and you're pouring it in to your small intestine and it gets into your bloodstream, man, oh man, that's good for you. Guys, it's not a matter of just eating low carb. I know that. People talk about it. Just go low carb. Go low carb. Yeah, okay, but you need to substitute with the right foods. It's a change of fuel. Change fuel, guys. Your brain will thank you. Your mood will thank you. Your metabolic syndrome, every one of those signs will thank you. They'll go down. Your triglycerides will go down and your HDL will go up. Your blood pressure will go down. Your blood sugar will go down. Your uric acid will go down. Your vitamin D will go up. change fuels. Change fuels. Even as for bile acids. Love it. Love it. These studies blow me away. They blow me away. Okay, guys, what's tomorrow? Question and answer Friday. Okay? Q&A. So send your questions in to info@martinclinic.com. info@martinclinic.com. Okay? To make sure we get your questions. Send in your emails. Okay. We love you guys, and we'll talk to you soon.